Have you ever stopped to wonder why so many people over 70 say they finally feel free? Free to wake up when they want, free to travel, free to rediscover passions they buried for decades. But then society whispers, "You're alone, you should remarry." Senior life experts are now saying that rushing into marriage after 70 could be one of the biggest mistakes you'll ever make. And the reasons will shock you to your core. Reaching the age of 70 is not simply about getting older. It's about arriving at a stage in life where you finally have the chance to breathe, to truly experience the freedom that comes after decades of responsibilities, sacrifices, and commitments. Emotional independence at this stage is not just a luxury, it's a necessity. Senior life experts explain that when you remarry after 70, you risk jeopardizing the emotional stability and hard-earned self-assurance you've built over a lifetime. Think about it. For decades, your life may have revolved around others. You may have spent years raising children, maintaining a household, working demanding jobs, and even caring for aging parents or an ailing spouse. Every decision you made likely had to take someone else's feelings and needs into account. While that's part of building a family and sharing a life, it also meant putting pieces of yourself on hold. By the time you reach 70, for the first time in your life, you finally have the chance to focus on you, your desires, your priorities, your peace of mind. Emotional independence is about knowing who you are without anyone else's definition clouding your self-image. The ability to wake up each morning and decide how to spend your time without feeling obligated to explain yourself to anyone. This isn't about selfishness. It's about self-preservation. Experts point out that after 70, the emotional energy required to balance another person's needs with your own can feel draining rather than fulfilling. At this stage, you've earned the right to protect your inner peace. When people remarry later in life, they often underestimate the subtle emotional compromises that come with sharing a life again. Marriage, by its very nature, requires adjusting, negotiating, and at times sacrificing. You might find yourself giving up hobbies you love because your spouse isn't interested. You might feel pressured to attend events you'd rather skip or adjust your daily routines to accommodate someone else. Over time, small concessions can begin to erode the freedom you worked so hard to achieve. Emotional independence also protects your mental health. Many seniors experience a newfound confidence and clarity when they learn to rely on themselves rather than seeking validation from a partner. No longer need someone to complete them because they've discovered they are whole on their own. When you remarry, even with the best intentions, risk slipping back into old patterns, seeking approval, silencing your opinions to avoid conflict, or putting your partner's needs ahead of your own. Experts warn that this loss of independence can lead to resentment and even depression in later years. Imagine waking up one morning and realizing that, instead of savoring your golden years, you are back to negotiating every major and minor decision with someone else. At 70 and beyond, your emotional energy is precious, and you should be investing it in the things that bring you joy, not in managing relationship dynamics. Another powerful reason to protect your emotional independence is the unpredictability of life at this stage. Health challenges can arise quickly, and the stress of dealing with another person's emotional highs and lows can take a toll. When you are emotionally independent, you are better equipped to handle these challenges with grace and resilience. You have the inner strength to navigate difficulties without feeling overwhelmed by someone else's reactions or needs. Finally, emotional independence after 70 allows you to redefine happiness on your own terms. Many seniors find profound joy in solitude, pursuing passions, traveling, volunteering, or spending time with friends and family on their schedule. No longer feel pressured to fit into someone else's vision of what a relationship should look like. This autonomy often leads to a deeper sense of fulfillment than they ever expected. So, when senior life experts say that emotional independence matters more than ever after 70, it's not just advice, it's a call to honor the life you've built. About recognizing that you've arrived at a stage where your happiness and peace should be your highest priority. Protecting your emotional independence isn't closing the door to love or connection. Ensuring that any relationships you choose to have are on your terms, without sacrificing the freedom you've earned. When you've reached the age of 70, your financial security isn't just about the money you need to live comfortably today. It's also about the legacy you've spent a lifetime building. Senior life experts warn that remarrying at this stage can have profound and often devastating consequences on that legacy, and most people don't realize how serious the risks are until it's too late. For decades, you've worked hard, saved diligently, and planned for a retirement where you can enjoy the fruits of your labor. Perhaps you've built a modest but meaningful inheritance for your children and grandchildren, or you've set aside funds to support a cause close to your heart. This financial foundation didn't come easily, represents years of sacrifice, smart decisions, and personal discipline. Now, one hasty decision to remarry could unravel it all. When you marry after 70, you are not only uniting your lives emotionally, you are also intertwining your finances in ways you may not fully anticipate. In most states, marriage gives your spouse significant rights to your property, assets, and even decision-making in the event of illness or death. If your new spouse has existing debts, creditors may legally pursue joint assets. If your spouse requires expensive long-term care, your savings could be drained paying for it. It's not about mistrusting your partner, it's about understanding the legal and financial consequences of marriage later in life. Senior life experts emphasize that even couples who keep separate bank accounts are often surprised to learn how marriage laws automatically override many informal agreements. Suddenly, your children could find themselves cut out of an inheritance you always intended for them, not because of ill will, but because you didn't understand how the law works. Blended family situations can be particularly complex. If your new spouse has children of their own, there may be competing claims on your estate. Even with the best intentions, disputes can arise that leave everyone hurt and bitter. These conflicts can drag on for years, consuming both time and resources that could have been avoided entirely. Experts often hear heartbreaking stories of family relationships permanently damaged because assets weren't clearly protected before a late life marriage. Financial independence is also a key part of your emotional independence at this stage. When you know your legacy is secure, you can enjoy your retirement years without fear or uncertainty. But remarrying can complicate everything from social security benefits to retirement account distributions. Many people don't realize that remarriage can disqualify them from receiving survivor benefits from a previous spouse. Others are shocked to discover that pensions or life insurance policies they thought would automatically pass to their children are now legally required to be offered to their new spouse. Senior life experts urge those over 70 to think about the big picture. Protecting your financial legacy isn't just about preserving wealth, about ensuring your hard-earned security and peace of mind remain intact. It's about having the freedom to use your resources the way you want. Whether that means traveling, supporting your loved ones, or making a difference in your community. Another overlooked issue is the cost of legal complications that can arise from remarriage. Without detailed estate planning, You may leave behind a tangle of disputes for your heirs to untangle. Probate battles can drain your estate's value and create rifts in your family. By choosing to remain unmarried, you can often simplify your estate plans and ensure your wishes are carried out exactly as you intend. Lastly, senior life experts remind us that protecting your financial legacy is also about self-respect. You have worked too hard and come too far to put your future at risk. Financial stability allows you to maintain your independence, access quality healthcare, and live life on your own terms. Marriage can bring love and companionship, but it can also bring financial vulnerability that you can't afford to ignore at this stage. When you're over 70, your financial legacy is more than just numbers on a page. It's your life story, the culmination of decades of effort. Protect it fiercely. Don't allow the romantic idea of remarriage to put you in a position where everything you've built can be jeopardized. Senior life experts agree at this point in life, safeguarding your financial future isn't optional. It's absolutely critical. At 70 and beyond, your health and well-being become more precious than ever. Senior life experts warn that remarrying at this stage can introduce significant physical and emotional demands that may impact not only your health, but also the quality of your life. One of the biggest overlooked realities of late life marriage is the unspoken expectation of caregiving. When you marry someone even at 70, you are agreeing, implicitly or explicitly, to share in their struggles, including health challenges. While this is a noble and loving sentiment, the reality is that caregiving for an ill or aging spouse can be incredibly demanding. It often requires round-the-clock physical support, navigating complex medical systems, managing medication schedules, and making life-altering healthcare decisions. For someone in their later years, the strain can be overwhelming. Experts note that the emotional toll of caregiving is often underestimated. Taking on the responsibility of another person's well-being can lead to chronic stress, anxiety, and even depression. Feelings are magnified when you're already dealing with your own age-related health concerns. Instead of enjoying your golden years with peace and freedom, you may find yourself burdened with the constant worry about a spouse's declining condition. The physical strain can be just as serious. Many caregiving tasks are physically demanding. Helping someone bathe, dress, move from bed to wheelchair, or travel to appointments. These activities can lead to injury, fatigue, and burnout, especially for seniors who may already be dealing with reduced mobility or chronic pain. Senior life experts have seen countless cases where the caregiver's health deteriorates faster than the patient simply because of the relentless stress and exhaustion. Dynamic can create a heartbreaking cycle as the healthier spouse becomes worn down, their own health falters, leaving both partners in a precarious situation. Without adequate support, can quickly escalate into a crisis. What's more, caregiving responsibilities can limit your ability to engage in the very activities that bring joy and vitality to your life, such as traveling, spending time with friends, or pursuing hobbies. Another important consideration is the financial cost of caregiving. When you remarry, you may become legally responsible for your spouse's medical expenses. Long-term care, hospital bills, and specialized treatments can rapidly deplete your savings, even if you had planned carefully for retirement. Experts highlight that many seniors are shocked to discover how quickly these costs can accumulate, putting their own security and independence at risk. Isn't to say that marriage at 70 is destined to lead to caregiving struggles, but it is a reality that must be faced with clear eyes. Senior life experts advise that you ask yourself important questions before remarrying. Are you prepared for the possibility of becoming a full-time caregiver? Do you have the physical stamina, emotional resilience, and financial resources to handle that responsibility. What will happen if you become the one who needs care? Will your spouse be able to meet your needs? Or will both of you suffer in the process? Protecting your health means prioritizing your well-being and creating boundaries that allow you to live fully. Remaining unmarried can offer you the freedom to support loved ones in ways that feel manageable without sacrificing your own stability. You can still build deep, meaningful connections. You do so from a place of strength rather than obligation. Experts emphasize that your health and vitality are the foundation of your golden years. You've worked too hard to spend these precious years physically and emotionally drained. Choosing not to remarry doesn't mean you'll be alone. It means you'll have the energy and focus to nurture the relationships and activities that truly enrich your life. Ultimately, the message is clear: your health is priceless. The caregiving strains that often come with late life marriage can jeopardize your independence, your happiness, and even your longevity. Senior life experts urge you to protect your well-being above all else. You deserve to live life at your own pace, in a way that honors the body and mind you've taken care of all these years. At 70 and beyond, one of the most profound rewards of this stage of life is freedom, the kind of personal freedom you may not have truly experienced in decades. Senior life experts emphasize that this freedom is priceless, and remarrying could mean giving up far more than you realize. For much of your adult life, your time was likely dictated by responsibilities: raising children, maintaining a career, supporting a spouse, and juggling countless obligations that left little room for your own desires. Even when those duties brought love and meaning, they often required you to put your own needs second. But now, for the first time, you may find yourself with complete control over your schedule, your choices, and the direction of your days. This autonomy is something to be cherished, not surrendered lightly. When you remarry, even to a kind and loving partner, marriage naturally requires compromise. Suddenly, decisions about how you spend your time, where you live, how you handle money, and even what you eat for dinner may need to be made jointly. What seems like a small concession at first can slowly chip away at the independence you worked so hard to earn. Senior life experts point out that many older adults underestimate how much they'll miss the ability to make decisions on their own terms. Personal freedom at this stage is about more than just logistics. It's about self-expression and fulfillment. Without the obligations of marriage, you can explore hobbies you've always dreamed of pursuing. You can travel spontaneously, spend long afternoons reading, or dedicate time to volunteering for causes close to your heart. You can visit your grandchildren when you choose, or enjoy quiet days without the pressure of someone else's needs influencing your schedule. Experts explain that this freedom also supports emotional well-being. When you control your time, you are free to structure your days in a way that nurtures your mental and physical health. Whether it's exercising, spending time in nature, socializing with friends, or simply relaxing, you get to prioritize the activities that give you joy and energy. Marriage, even with the best intentions, often requires sacrifices that can make these moments harder to claim. Some seniors describe the freedom of living independently as a rediscovery of themselves. They no longer feel they have to play a role for someone else's expectations. Instead, they can fully embrace who they are, pursue their passions, and live authentically. When you remarry, you risk losing this opportunity for self-discovery because your life will inevitably revolve around another person's routines and preferences. Another overlooked aspect of freedom is the ability to manage your environment exactly as you like it. Your home can reflect your tastes, your habits, and your rhythms without needing to account for someone else's comfort. This might sound minor, but for many seniors, their home becomes a sanctuary, a place of peace that they can control completely. Remarrying means inviting someone else into that sanctuary, which often brings a level of disruption, no matter how compatible you are. Senior life experts remind us that your golden years are not a time to feel trapped by obligations or compromises. They are a time to live life fully and on your own terms. Staying single allows you to protect this hard-won independence. You can still build meaningful relationships, enjoy companionship, and share love with others, but you do so by choice, not by necessity. Also important to acknowledge that at this stage of life, time is precious. Every day matters. Personal freedom allows you to make the most of those days without the restrictions and sacrifices that marriage can sometimes bring. This isn't about rejecting love, about honoring your right to spend your time exactly as you wish. Senior life experts agree, once you've experienced the profound sense of liberation that comes with personal freedom after 70, you'll understand why it's something worth protecting. Marriage can be fulfilling for many, but inevitably brings responsibilities and compromises. At this stage, preserving your independence may be the most empowering choice you'll ever make. When you remarry after the age of 70, you aren't just bringing another person into your life. You're potentially reshaping your entire family's dynamic. Senior life experts warn that this shift can create unexpected tension and conflict, even in families that have always been close. These complications can arise quickly and with lasting consequences, often leaving emotional wounds that are difficult to heal. Your children and grandchildren are likely used to a certain rhythm in your family life. They know how holidays are celebrated, where gatherings happen, and what roles everyone plays. Introducing a new spouse can disrupt these patterns. Even if your family members like and respect your partner, they may feel as though their relationship with you has been altered or diminished. Some may struggle with feelings of displacement, jealousy, or fear that they are losing their connection to you. Experts note that these emotions often have little to do with your new spouse personally. Instead, stem from the very real changes a remarriage brings. For example, adult children may worry about losing their inheritance or feel anxious about how family traditions will change. Grandchildren may feel confused about how to relate to a new grandparent. These issues can create friction at a time when you most want peace and harmony. Blended families can become even more complex. Your spouse also has children and grandchildren. The challenge of bringing two family systems together can feel overwhelming. Whose home becomes the gathering place for the holidays? Who receives heirlooms or family treasures when the time comes? Even the most well-meaning families can struggle to navigate these questions without conflict. Senior life experts have seen many situations where remarriage triggers arguments over money, property, and inheritance. This isn't because family members are greedy, because they fear losing the security and traditions they've always known. Unfortunately, these disputes can escalate quickly and lead to permanent rifts in the family. Even if you take steps to protect your estate legally, the emotional impact can still linger. Your children may feel as though your priorities have shifted away from them. Grandchildren might perceive that your time and attention are now divided. These feelings can cause hurt that lasts for years, sometimes long after the initial wedding ceremony. It's important to remember that stage of life, family relationships are often your deepest source of connection and joy. Senior life experts emphasize that protecting these bonds should be a top priority. Remarrying, even for companionship, can unintentionally strain those relationships in ways that are difficult to foresee. Another factor to consider is how your new spouse will integrate into existing family dynamics. Will they get along with your children? Will they support your relationships with grandchildren? Or will they become a source of tension? Questions are critical because unresolved conflicts can make family gatherings uncomfortable and discourage relatives from spending time together. By remaining unmarried, you can preserve the balance and harmony you've worked hard to build within your family. You can maintain traditions, spend time with loved ones on your own schedule, and ensure that your relationships remain strong and uncomplicated. This doesn't mean you can't have companionship, simply means you avoid introducing new dynamics that could disrupt the connections that matter most. Senior life experts point out that when family relationships fracture in later years, it can lead to feelings of isolation and regret. Protecting these relationships is about more than avoiding conflict. It's about ensuring you have the support and love you need as you age. When your family feels secure in their bond with you, they are more likely to remain engaged and involved in your life. In the end, the message is clear: family dynamics are fragile, and remarriage after 70 can disrupt them in ways you may not anticipate. If your goal is to maintain close, loving relationships with your children and grandchildren, it's worth considering how marriage might affect those ties. Senior life experts agree that, at this stage, harmony within your family can be one of the greatest sources of happiness, and it's something you should protect fiercely. When you reach the age of 70, something remarkable happens. You finally have the space and freedom to turn your focus inward, to discover parts of yourself that you may have set aside for decades. Senior life experts believe that this stage of life is a golden opportunity for self-discovery, and remarrying could inadvertently pull you away from that deeply rewarding journey. Think about it. How much of your adult life was spent fulfilling roles and responsibilities for others? As a spouse, parent, employee, caregiver, or friend, you may have constantly poured your time and energy into meeting the needs of everyone around you. While these roles brought meaning, they also required sacrifice. Many of your personal dreams and passions may have been placed on the back burner as you navigated the demands of daily life. Now, for the first time in decades, you have the chance to reclaim those pieces of yourself. Self-discovery at this stage is about more than just finding new hobbies. It's about reconnecting with who you are at your core. What truly excites you? What brings you peace? What gives you a sense of purpose? These are questions that often get lost in the noise of a busy life, but now you have the time and perspective to answer them. Remarrying can unintentionally complicate this process. Even the healthiest marriage requires compromise and attention. You may find that your focus shifts back to meeting someone else's needs and expectations. Senior life experts caution that this can delay or even derail the process of exploring your own interests and passions. At 70 and beyond, your energy is precious. It should be directed toward activities and experiences that nurture your spirit. Self-discovery can take many forms. For some, it means learning a new skill or revisiting a long-lost passion like painting, writing, or playing an instrument. For others, it's about travel and exploration, seeing new places, meeting new people, and broadening your horizons. Some people find fulfillment through volunteer work or by mentoring younger generations. Others embrace the peace of spending time in nature, cultivating a garden, or simply enjoying the quiet moments of reflection that life now allows. Experts also emphasize that self-discovery isn't always about action. It can be about stillness and reflection. After decades of constant movement, you may find joy in slowing down and truly listening to yourself. What values matter most to you now? What legacy do you want to leave behind? How do you want to spend the time you have left? These are profound questions that deserve your full attention, and it can be harder to answer them when you are navigating the complexities of a new marriage. Another powerful aspect of self-discovery is the opportunity to build deeper relationships with yourself and with others on your own terms. Without the obligations of marriage, you can choose how and when you engage with friends, family, and community. Freedom often leads to more authentic connections because you're no longer operating from a place of obligation, but from genuine desire. Senior life experts often observe that people who prioritize self-discovery after 70 experience a renewed sense of vitality. They feel more confident, more peaceful, and more fulfilled because they are living life according to their own values and desires. This sense of purpose can even have positive effects on physical health. Happiness and emotional well-being are closely linked to longevity. By choosing not to remarry, you create the space needed to embark on this transformative journey. You give yourself permission to explore, to grow, and to become the fullest version of yourself. Isn't about rejecting companionship. It's about recognizing that your relationship with yourself is the foundation for every other relationship in your life. Ultimately, self-discovery at this stage isn't just an opportunity, it's a gift. You have the wisdom, the perspective, and the time to focus on what truly matters. Senior life experts agree that when you honor this process, you open the door to some of the most meaningful and joyful years of your life. And that is something far too valuable to sacrifice. One of the most liberating truths you can embrace after the age of 70 is this: love, connection, and meaningful companionship are absolutely possible without the need for marriage. Senior life experts stress that at this stage in life, deep relationships are more about quality than labels, and the idea that you must remarry to avoid loneliness is simply a myth. For decades, society has reinforced the belief that happiness comes from being part of a married couple. But by the time you reach your 70s, you know better than most that marriage isn't the only path to fulfillment. Many seniors discover that they feel freer, more joyful, and more connected when they nurture relationships on their own terms. True companionship isn't about sharing a last name or a legal document. It's about having people in your life who make you feel valued, understood, and supported. These relationships can take many forms: close friendships, tight, knit family bonds, or even romantic partnerships that don't require the formality of marriage. Senior life experts observe that these arrangements often bring more peace and balance because they allow you to set clear boundaries and maintain your independence. Choosing not to remarry doesn't mean choosing to be alone. In fact, it often gives you the time and energy to deepen the relationships that matter most. You can spend more time with your children and grandchildren without feeling torn between family obligations and the needs of a spouse. You can invest in friendships, the kind of lifelong bonds that bring laughter, comfort, and shared memories. You can even enjoy romantic companionship, dating someone who shares your values and interests without the pressure of combining households, finances, and families. Experts also emphasize that true companionship can come from your broader community. Volunteering, joining clubs or senior groups, attending classes, or participating in faith-based activities can all help you build meaningful connections. These relationships often feel lighter and more joyful because they are formed out of shared passions and interests, not necessity or obligation. One of the greatest benefits of remaining unmarried is the ability to control the pace and nature of your relationships. You decide how often you want company, how much time you spend alone, and what commitments you're willing to make. This autonomy allows you to nurture your own well-being first, which ultimately makes you a better friend, parent, and companion to others. Senior life experts often hear from people who feel pressure to remarry because they fear loneliness. But loneliness isn't solved by simply having another person in your house. Many married people feel deeply lonely because their emotional needs aren't met. What truly combats loneliness is connection, genuine, heartfelt connection that comes from being with people who accept and appreciate you. And that kind of connection doesn't require a marriage license. At this stage of life, you've likely already experienced love, marriage, and partnership. You know the joys and challenges they bring. Now, you have the opportunity to approach relationships differently, with greater wisdom and clarity. You can prioritize quality over quantity, choose relationships that align with your values, and step away from those that drain you. By embracing this mindset, you open yourself to a world of companionship that is rich, flexible, and fulfilling. You can share adventures with friends, laugh with family, and even enjoy romantic evenings with someone special, all without giving up your independence. Senior life experts remind us that the most important relationship you'll ever have is with yourself. When you are comfortable in your own company and confident in your own worth, you naturally attract people who uplift and support you. You no longer feel pressure to marry simply to feel whole, because you already know that you are complete on your own. The truth is, true companionship is about connection, not contracts. At 70 and beyond, you deserve relationships that bring joy without sacrificing your freedom or peace of mind. By recognizing that marriage is not a requirement for love or support, you can build a life that is rich with meaningful relationships and filled with the kind of companionship that truly matters. So, as you stand at this remarkable chapter of your life, remember this: you have already climbed mountains, weathered storms, and built a legacy that matters. These years, your golden years, are not about obligation or compromise. They are about living fully, embracing freedom, and protecting the peace you have worked so hard to achieve. Marriage may be a beautiful institution, but it is not the only path to happiness. Especially now, you have the wisdom, the strength, and the right to write this chapter on your own terms. Choose relationships that uplift you, experiences that excite you, and paths that lead to your deepest joy. Because at this stage of life, greatest gift you can give yourself is the power to live authentically, unapologetically, and completely free.